Okay. I'm back now. Let's see where we left off. So we want to extract space availability query into a separate function. Where was that? Let's see. Do we really need to do this? Because let's see. Yeah, I think we don't really need to do it since we're handling the availability in a available function. Yeah, I think it's fine. This we mark as done. We have technically extracted it. Add an ability to make buttons non-interactable. Okay, let's see. Let's see what it looks like. So these are empty buttons, right? And when we press, they behave in a similar way. This button is getting pressed, and maybe what we want to do is I guess what we really want is to make sure that this thing remains highlighted, and it doesn't. At least sometimes it doesn't, and I'm not exactly sure why. We can try and debug this. I'll try to reproduce. So when we click, I think some events are messed up. Let's see. It is happening in the vendor. And these are the buttons. And it is because we are providing mocked subscription interface. Let's see. So when we create the button in the constructor, we are performing a subscription that is, let's see, on mouse enter, we scale it up, we enhance, and then on mouse leave, we set the scale back to the original number, and we subscribe for the I'm a bit confused about this. Okay, this is the event, right? This is the event, and I was wrong previously because this is not vendor's jurisdiction at all. This is the level's jurisdiction, and these are the buttons that are being created, and we're binding to the selection event. And if I open this like so, we have a level, and so when we get this event, we don't get what we were getting previously. Like in the older version of the game, we are getting the occupant. We're selecting the occupant. And we don't have that information within the button, and I don't think we should. So the thing is, when we press on the inventory slot, we're emitting an event with the occupant that we're holding, that we're trying to place. And while we're holding that occupant, the button should be left in a hovered state. And this thing, the hovered state, shouldn't only be happening when we press on the inventory, which would be easy. The problem is that we can access it with a keystroke. And then the keystroke doesn't know which button holds what, right? So this means that it shouldn't be the name of the button. No, maybe we can leave it as a name, but here, when we are creating the inventory buttons, we should keep the digit which represents the number, which represents the position of the item in the inventory. And then when we get an occupant here, when someone selects something from the inventory, let's say with a keystroke, we get the message about it here. And then we use that to query the state and to decide whether we should be hovering or not. So this means that the name of the button, maybe it should be called a key instead of a name. Because name is confusing. Name implies that it should be visible somewhere. And I don't want to call this ID, because then it could get confused with the universal ID which every component has. So this I'm going to rename to key instead. And the key will be the index. Simple as that. And that would solve our problem. And then this means that the vendor when it is creating its buttons, no, we don't need this at all, which means that the key is optional and the event, this is crappy. I don't like having to expose the event like that. Well, let's tackle one problem at a time. And then this we don't really need to supply. Okay. Now let's go and change the types here. So name should be optional and it should be key. Like so. It's the first thing. And then event should be optional as well. These are the props. And then this thing is optional. Maybe we can just skip it, we don't need that. And then can we do this? I think so. Then this is fine. We can do this shorthand version of that. Let's add a comment and say this is not good because then it implies that this will always be of type occupant, right? And then this kind of works against the separation of concerns. I don't like this at all. So one solution, we convert, like we make another class that is an inventory button that has this behavior within. Another solution is to assign a specific ID to each of these buttons that are in the inventory. And then when something happens to the inventory, we access the button with the ID through the component controller. And then we manually change whatever it is that we want to change in the button. And I think for now I can do it that way. So this means that the instead of the key mumbo jumbo, we add an ID, a UID. And we'll do it like this. And then we pass this ID to the constructor, to the super constructor. So that's the first thing. Then we need a convention. And let's say we just put in the it's string, of course. So we do this. And we call this inventory button. Yeah. And we do this. And this. Now, we have this UID here. And this means that instead of doing this, and instead of passing the event controller into the button, we instead add additional methods that could hover and blur, or maybe we should say focus and blur. And then whenever we want to focus, we do this. And when we want to blur, we do this. Now we don't need to have the event controller anymore. And hence we do this. We remove this and we remove the event as well. Okay. No subscriptions. And then, so when we create the button, we need to store the original scale and original position. Let's do that. Root button price sprite, and then we do private. It's number, and position is of type coordinates. Let's set to defaults. position, and whenever we are saving this, and the position becomes this. Now we do the following, and fix it here. Now we have the size. What the hell is size? Oh, we also need to fix this. What's the matter? Oh, yeah. This is correct. Should be this dot scale, and this should be this dot position. What is size? Size, okay. So this is an argument. Let's store it. All right. And now we do this, and we do it here. So now this should be fine. We've changed the signature. This looks a bit cleaner. Okay, now we need to get back to the important stuff, and we'll make this new signature work. And to make it work, we need to go to the select function, the one that is doing the selection. What happens when we emit, subscribe? And when we are subscribing to this thing, let's see how many subscriptions to this function there are in general. To this event, there's just one subscription, and so the subscription is checking for the payload. Right, and if the payload is empty, then basically the select method won't be called. And maybe we can do the check inside of the select function, because there are some things we would still want to act upon. On the other hand, why would we call select? Why would we try to emit the select event without anything? Let's see the emitters. Emit. who is emitting this stuff. We have an occupant, we have an occupant. Okay. We emit a null value. We don't really need to do it though, because it's not going anywhere. Exactly. Why the reason we were doing it previously is because inside of the button we were subscribing to it, and that's redundant right now. So we need to remove this check. We need to do it like so. We remove the check, and then we go to this function, and then we add the check here. If it's not paused, and if we have an occupant, then we do this. And regardless of whether we have an occupant or not, we want to perform some things on the inventory items. And the way we're going to do that is first we get the occupant's index in the inventory array, and then we get an ID based on that index, and then we ask the component controller to communicate with the button and say that we want it to be hovered. And for all the other buttons, we want to remove we want basically to blur instead of focusing. So we can do that by first of all getting the ID of the occupant, and we do that by querying the state, and we want the player inventory. And this is still a bit half-baked because we manually run the find index function, and we can do it like so. We get the occupant, and then this is ugly, by the way. Maybe I should write it's fine for now. This should be extracted, definitely. And we get the occupant index. Safety, and the safety gate, and then we have an index, so which means let's say the button UID is going to be, this should be extracted in a helper function as well. But for now, let's see. the inventory, this guy. So we get this guy and we put it here. And we do this. So now we have the ID of the button in question. And since we have the ID, we can now ask the component controller to give us the component in question based on the ID. And do we have that function? We have get that is using the... We should make this function. Get by UID. And then we supply maybe we can do it like so, and then we return a map, an array of components that adhere to the conditions. Let's see, is neither an that's fine. Components filter, UIDs include component mount. If it includes, then we return true. Otherwise, we return false. We can just do this like so. And then we can do and return an empty array. Otherwise, we just return the result of filter. Like so. So now we can access the thing by ID, and we get this thing. Component controller get by UID, and this will be our button in question. We should call it inventory button. And then we have the button, so we need to cast it as button. Can we do that? Mistake. Yes, that is correct. That is correct. But since we are asking for only one ID, we are sure it's going to be this. And it's good if we crash because of this. It would be worse if we had like a case, or like if we handle the out of bounds case and then we don't crash, so we don't know what's wrong. So I like when things go out of bounds. So I'm going to do it like so. Take the only button, and after that we are going to call focus, and this should work. Now the only thing left is basically if we go back to the game, let's see, no, too fast. So we'll take this thing, and it doesn't work at all. Okay, let's see why it doesn't work. Because when we click on it, no, this is just the basic browser game. It's running in the browser, and there is no server-side logic to have Node.js, and basically it's just plain TypeScript that is being packed with Webpack, and for the WebGL rendering engine I use Pixie. which is good like for two-dimensional renderings. And the save states are basically in the local storage, which persists through refreshes. I hope that answers your question. Let's see. Yeah, no worries. Okay, let's see. So we wanted to see why we don't get any. Oh, okay. This is interesting. So it didn't work. It didn't work for the first element. Maybe it's because. Let's try again. So with this thing, it doesn't work, right? And then if I have several, for the second thing, it does work, and it remains focused. Let's see, by the way, what happens when I want to spawn several. Let's see what it says. Okay. If occupant. Oh, that is very true. It is very, very true. So basically, I'm trying to query something that may not exist. I should add a question mark here to never forget about that again. And the question is, if we select with nothing, then we should get all of the inventory buttons, right? And then when we press here, are we really selecting? And if we are, then why? Because this should just spawn stuff on the battlefield. Let's see what's happening. So when we press on the bonfire, the bonfire is here. Yeah. Okay. So we create an occupant, we assign it the universal ID, and then we try to occupy a tile. And we are calling this .populate. So this means that this .populate calls the selection underneath. Let's see if that's the case. And where is the populate? No, I don't think so. So we are calling spawn unit. And then, yeah, exactly. Okay. And then we call the select with null. And that's why we break there. So it makes perfect sense. What we can do for now let's do a little safeguard here and then see why this thing happens. Okay, so now we create several characters, and so the second one remains focused, which is good, and the third one. So there is a problem with number 0. It might be because of some silly null check. And so let me think where it could happen. Let's see. So we press on the inventory, which is happening in here, and then we are emitting the select. I think it would be better to place a debugger and go from there. Let's see. So we press here. Okay. So this guy is selected. We pass through here. The occupant index is 0, which is correct. And this is what I am being silly about. This is absolutely horrible. Because we should do this. If that was very stupid. Okay, so now that part should work. Yeah, okay, now it's getting focused, which is nice. It's getting focused a bit too much. So let's fix that. Let's see. Oh, mouse enter. So this is the scale that we want, and this is the offset, and this is the button scale. What are we doing here? Sprite scale. Okay, so here it's bigger, right? So we should do it like this. And the size is divided by 5. And then the scale is 1.2. So now that should fix that. Okay, now it remains selected, and it doesn't remain selected when we press on empty slots. Now if we take this and we try to pick this guy up, great. And I assume it won't work. I assume it won't work if we Yes, exactly. So this is undesirable because we can do this. We can focus on multiple buttons. And to fix that, we can do the following. So this could be smarter, but I'm also being a bit lazy. So I am going to get all of the... So I'm going to do this. Get by UID, and for the UIDs I'm going to convert the inventory array to numbers. Yeah, let's do this. I'm going to convert them to IDs. And we don't need the first element, but we do need the index. And we are going to return this guy. Okay. And we want to spread this stuff because it accepts multiple strings. So now we have all of the IDs, and for each one of those IDs we can really keep on mapping. We don't need a map because we're not gonna return. We're just gonna do a little for each, and we're going to, let's see, we're going to sorry, this is a button. We're going to call blur on each of the buttons, and it has some troubles because it's of type iComponent. It's just an interface type, and we want to convert it to button because we know it's a button. And now if now if I select one, the other one gets blurred, which is perfect. Okay, so now if we try and go into the battle, everything works as expected. You can pick them up. And I can lose successfully. This is great, so let's see with the vendor. Let's actually try to win. Let's try to win. Oh, okay, now there is an issue. Seems like, okay, so this is this is not good. I think I forgot something somewhere when I was refactoring. We get a -1. We shouldn't get that. Let's see who is writing. Let's see who is writing to the inventory. Thanks. Well, the funny thing is, I'm going to change how it looks because I'm currently using a pre-made texture pack, which I was using just for like testing the basic gameplay and playing with Pixie, but yeah. So probably it won't look as good when I'm done with it. And let's see who writes. So it happened when I lost, right? Let me try to yeah, I don't think I can show the sneaky bushes. Everything is kind of broken. Let's see what happens when I lose, because I have a feeling the bug is happening upon losing conditions being met. So now if I go back to main menu to save the state, let's see, the player has 3 units, has 3 occupants in the inventory. That is fine, but if I lose the level, should probably reduce the... Okay. So now if I go back, what happens? Inventory is 0, which is correct. Okay, so maybe then it happened... Maybe it happened when I had... Oh no, no, it happened again. Okay. Yeah, so there's like two two guys in the same spot. Something is messed up with the IDs. We'll still try to reproduce. So when everything is kind of clean, then it's fine. But if I restart the level, that's when it happens, right? Yeah, okay. And let's see. So I want to monitor the state and reproduce it one more time. And it doesn't happen when I have empty slots in the inventory. Right? Yeah. Okay. And let's say I go back and save. Have two characters in the inventory. And then it still doesn't happen. So it only happens when my inventory is full. So now I go back. And then this is correct, the IDs are different. And I go back again. Now this will kind of screw it up. No, it worked. That's weird. Okay. What happens if I go back? This is correct. So I clicked on this one. Okay, so I see that thing. So when I try to pick a character up and I don't have enough space in the inventory, then something goes wrong. And let's say I clicked many times and see what the state looks like. Well, the state looks correct. Okay. And it's gonna work until okay, so it's working now. But if I first click on this guy and then I try to recreate, that's when it breaks. Yeah. Okay, so let's see what's happening when we do that. It's happening when we select. Let's see. No, I don't get the debugger point. Why so? Oh, because it's not selection, right? This is happening in the arena when we do this. No, sorry. This is happening in the spawning. In the spawn unit. And it's happening when we supply a callback. So it's happening here. Okay. Let's see what's going on. So we try to get the occupant from the tile. The tile ID is present and this is fine. Now does this function actually go through? What happens here? We get the occupant, which is correct. And then we try to get the occupant. Okay. So we try to get a free index. And then we don't have a free slot in the inventory, so we get a -1, and then we go back from this function, and so this function fails and it doesn't do anything, so we return from here. So like nothing happens at this point, which is correct. Which is correct, but then something else happens and it breaks. I think what is happening is that I'm freeing up the arena tile for some reason, and maybe that's because I'm kind of clicking through, and it not only clicks on the character, but the click is being registered also for the terrain. Let's see. So it is happening here. Let's see if this is getting triggered. The spawn unit is fine. Okay, maybe this function does something to the arena. Let's see. So if we go to the state of the stage and then try free tile. Yeah, okay. Okay, so I think this is the culprit. When we're trying to get the occupant off of the arena, we don't even make a check if we have space in the inventory when we do that. So we end up occupying the arena, but not putting the character into the inventory. So we're still kind of left with the character on the arena, because the system doesn't know that there should have been a reconciliation. And so we need to fix that. Let me just double check that this is indeed what is happening. Okay, so now we go here. So we have the tiles, and the tile 0 has the occupant, and this other 5 tiles have nothing. And we have the tile at hand, so we don't return, and then we take the occupant. Yeah, and this is not good at all, because we managed to free the tile, but then we can't place the character anywhere. So this means that we just should perform the check before we try to free the tile. And that should probably fix that. Let's see. Okay, we first check for empty space. And then that should fix it. Do we have the same kind of functionality? No, we don't. It's fine. So now we should be fixing this part. Should turn off the debuggers. Okay, so now I can't do this. Okay, so we fixed that. And this is fine. We can pick them up. Perfect. Now let's see what happens when we lose. Okay, this works. Okay, so when I pick this guy, I will get him in the inventory because there is space in the inventory. And then when I go to the next level, I should get 3 characters because they will be automatically picked up from the battlefield so that we don't forget. And so they work. Now, if I go to the main menu, which is not exactly, it's just left for debugging reasons, the ability to go back to the menu from within a battle. Let's see what the state looks like now, because it should only keep what's in the inventory in the save. So there should be 2 characters, exactly. So the first one is occupied, then we have empty, and then we have the third one, so we don't have any weird stuff going on. Yeah, exactly. Then if we go, we continue from the last level, because the difficulty is now 1. I'm gonna put it to 0, and now I should be going back to the hub area, and we have the same configuration, and this is great. Okay, so this means that we fixed the inventory reordering functionality. Let's see. We fixed this as well, right? Because now there is a difference between interactable and non-interactable buttons, because the non-interactable buttons don't stay in the focused state. Exactly. So we fixed that as well. Let's see what else. Inventory rendering function, unmount only inventories. Well, yeah, this is a good one. So basically, whenever there is a state reconciliation, which is happening in the main level class, we kind of unmount the buttons and then mount them again with the updated state and with the updated callbacks, etc., etc. But we're unmounting all the components that have a constructor button, and we don't want to do that. We only want to unmount the inventory buttons. And first of all, to do that, I'm going to, yeah, I'm basically going to take this string of code and we will check if this works. So we are getting all of the inventory buttons, all of the IDs, which is basically a prefix plus the inventory index. And then for each one of them, we are going to unmount UIDs. And this should fix that. Now I'm going to extract this string interpolation into a different function so that we don't get stuff mixed up after I am confident this works. And we can do the following actually. We can debug and see what's going on in here. So let's see, there's a bunch of terrain sprites. This, let's see where, too many things. Okay, so this is the inventory and we have 3 buttons. And when I place, we do the reconciliation and we still end up with 3 buttons. And this means that this thing is working, which is great. Okay, so thus this thing can be checked as well. And we fixed this one as well. Now, next thing is I would like to extract this ID into a separate function, the getter for the ID. The question is, where should I extract this? I'm going to be using this thing exclusively within the main level abstraction. So maybe it makes sense to add a private method. Yeah, because this concerns only the level. It's not gonna be used anywhere else. And yeah, probably that's good enough for now. And then we see what we actually should do afterwards when we get more information. Okay, so okay. And oops. Okay. So this should fix that. I shouldn't have any more. Oh. I should have it. I shouldn't have any more occurrences of this stuff. Oh no, I have one, and I need to update them as well. Okay, let's do that. And we take this stuff. So now this is a bit cleaner. Maybe I should have a separate section for this stuff. I call it helpers. Okay, so that stuff is working. Is it? Yeah, seems like it's working. Okay. Now, with this thing out of the way, there is one last thing, which is the bats are appearing after level has been won, and it's a very tough one to reproduce. So I'm gonna try my luck and see, first of all, if it is somewhat obvious through the code. And let's see. So the waves are being generated in the actual levels, not the main abstraction. So we get the waves, and we have the counter. Let's take the grasslands, the default level, as an example. And the waves are a result of the difficulty function. And the difficulty function is spitting out the waves in a form of Perlin noise, one-dimensional Perlin noise. So we need to see if we end up making more things than needed, and the level, let's say, the first level has 30 seconds, right? And then we kind of spawn, like our unit for a wave, unit of spawning is half a second, which means every half of a second we get a tick that might spawn something or not. And this means it's basically seconds multiplied by 2. Yep. So we get this array, and then we map over this array, and then we return the wave. So there are 2 different maps. The first map is just the noise function, and the second map is the kind of like the boss wave, and they get added on one on top of another. But these both things have half seconds array, and we never get out of bounds of the half seconds. And we give this array, so let's say we start with 30 seconds, so we give out an array of 60 numbers. And what could be happening is an issue with the ticker. So the counter starts from 0, okay, and the I starts from 0, and then the wavelength is going to be 60 for the first level. Okay. And then if the number in the array is 0, then it means nothing is happening in that particular tick. But if it's not 0, then we push a keyframe that spawns an enemy based on the number in the wave. And what this means is that there shouldn't really be any issues. Maybe there is a slight off, like a delay in the timer. Let's see. The sequencer repeat the wave. I see. So we don't really need to repeat the wave. We want the sequence to happen once. So that's the first thing. And then this thing is kind of redundant because the hub level doesn't have any waves, and the levels where we have battles, they're not being persisted. So we kind of don't need this. And we repeat it only once, and maybe that was the issue. But it would be kind of tricky to test. Let's set the length of the level in seconds, of the level grasslands. Let's say 5 seconds for the sake of testing. And let's see if we get any issues. And if we don't, let me remove the debugger. So if I don't see any issues now, I'm just gonna let it slide until I encounter it. And then maybe I will get more ideas about why it has happened. Okay, so this happened just now. And it happened. So basically the victory conditions have been met. Let's see. Events victory. I think something is off in the victory conditions. If we have a victory, let's see where we are. Emit victory. So we only emit it here. And then we stop the sequencer wave. But then I think, is it really called wave? Is it not called waves? Yeah, it's called wave. Okay, so we stop the sequencer, and let's see what stopping actually does. Where is the sequencer? Here. Let's see. So sequencer deletes the sequence name. Does it mean that everything actually stops? Okay. So we delete, but then the tick happens, and for each of the map entries, Gonna take a quick break and I'll be back. Okay, let's see where we left off. So the issue was that we delete the current sequence from the... Oh, hello. We delete the current sequence from the sequencer, but we still get a spawn. And I think it's only one enemy that is being spawned. So let's do this. I'm going to create a wave in the difficulty function that spawns an enemy every tick, and then we see how many of them we get extra. Let's see. So this is a difficulty function, and we want to just spam once, essentially. The waves, I'm going to just do this. Array and half seconds dot fill, and then we are just going to return once for everything, basically. And let's see what the waves look like in this scenario. Okay. Well, now nothing has spawned. So maybe it's a slight timer issue. Nothing has spawned. We proceed. Huh. Is this really solid? Maybe the issue is when I am adding two arrays. No, okay, it happened. And it happens sometimes. It happens sometimes, which is not very nice. Let's try to make sense. Go back to sequencer. Right, and ideally when we stop it, we just want it to stop calling. And then also when it's stopped, we kill. Maybe the issue is that we kill before we stop. Let's see where the winning conditions are. So we first stop the wave. And then this is happening synchronously. So there is nothing in the map when we reach this place. And then we kill all of the enemies by giving them the damage of 9,999. And then on the next tick, sometimes an enemy still spawns. Hmm. Let's see. This is this part is irrelevant. And here okay. So the countdown is happening in a separate sequence. Maybe this is the clue. The countdown is stopping the wave sequence. So the spawning is happening here. Maybe if I can check if the when this is happening, whether we are winning. Let's see. 1 2 1 2. Okay, so this should go here and we do this. So let's say we also specify this. And let's see if this works. So every tick we should get a bat, and then we need to see if in one of the levels the timer ends, but one bat still spawns in the end. And I want to see what the game state is. Is the game finished when the last bat spawns, or is it not? Okay, so for the last bat, the game was finished, right? So the trivial fix is to kind of just put it behind the condition. But basically this means that whenever I stop the sequence that generates the enemy waves, I still get the callbacks. Does it mean that the tick it means the tick is happening Let's see when the sequencer ticks. Where's the update function? Okay. We update the sequencer. And then we update the components. And the events are happening kind of the events are happening within the ticks, within the updates that PixiJS gives. So hence there is a slight off timing. But it's still a bit weird to me. Take player difficulty, +1. So we got this thing because the game over was set to true. And after this, the tick happened. And it shouldn't have. See. H options. Okay, so this is the event incremental, right? No, this is the event callback. And it means that I really don't like to do this, but I will make a mark so that I investigate it later. Investigate off timing by I'm not sure if it's 0.5 seconds off timing. The sequence has been stopped. And So this should fix that, but I don't really like it. Let's see. Maybe I can spend some more time trying to understand. Over. Oh. I think I might know why this is happening. What happens? Maybe it's because the countdown sequence I wonder if it makes a difference. The order in which the sequences are being passed through a ticker. Because now the wave passes and then the countdown passes. And that might be the reason. So let's test this assumption. Let's see. We get the bats. They're dead. All the bats again. Okay. Let's keep going. Level 3. I think that might have been the issue. Yeah, it kind of makes sense. Yep. Yeah, because each of the sequences gets evaluated in a set order. The order in the map. And so basically we need to evaluate the stoppage of the wave sequence, basically the countdown sequence that manages the stoppage of the wave sequence in the very end of the tick, so that we don't get leftover values. And this kind of makes sense, which makes me happy about how this got resolved. So now we don't need this crap. I think it's a good idea to make a note. The countdown sequence should happen, should be registered after the wave sequence, so it can stop it properly without carryover callbacks. So this is great. Let's return back the difficulty function. So now it's regular difficulty. Yeah, now it's sparse, sort of, which is great. Now we won't get anything because they're too far away. See, one, and no one comes. So this is great. I will mark this task, this bug, as done as well. So we're done with the bugs. And that's great. The next thing will be, maybe it's a good idea before I continue, to run the game in the debug mode, because I think let me add this stuff. Bug fixes. Okay, great. Now I'm going to start the game in the debug mode. Let's see what was the script for that. And I want to see all of the debug data, because I think stuff is a bit not scaled correctly. Okay, so there, this is definitely not scaled correctly. We don't see the HP levels. But I think we don't see the HP levels only for the new sprite, which is the white character. Let me add some money so we can spawn in some other units to double check. Okay, let's go. Okay, great. So when I place this guy, I get the HP properly set. So I just need to change the scale value for this guy. And this is in the units, and this guy, let's see, so sprite clickable, yep, this, so debug scale, let's see what works. Kind of. Let's set it to 2. Okay, it's better now. We need to push it a bit higher. Maybe here. Okay. Okay, let's get this guy. I would say a bit higher and a bit bigger. 2.2 and minus 110. Yep. And this will kind of play nicely with the next feature, which is having the health the same value it had like before putting in the inventory. So basically, when we place the character back in the inventory, we don't heal it, because currently it forgets the damage the character had, the damage the character got, and then it kind of heals. And we don't want that to happen. We want to persist the damage, because then we will be able to add a healer character and the healing functionality. Okay, so this is fine. And the despawning of the losing trigger is kind of working as well. We still have the clickable tiles. Yeah. Well, that's great. I guess in the next session I will make some more sprites for some of the characters and maybe the landscape, and then I can continue with the implementation of the features. Thanks guys for watching. I will see you on the next stream.